Once, Lord Krishna and Arjun were traveling through a city. On the way, they saw an old, frail beggar sitting by the roadside.
Madhav, what is this? You are the Lord of the universe. Yet there are people so poor they must beg for food. If you wished, you could end his misery in a moment. O Parth, a man's destiny is shaped by his own deeds. But if you think he needs help, why don't you give him what he needs yourself? Of course, I'll end this beggar's sufferings forever. Hey Brahmin, come here. Stop begging. From today, your troubles are over. Who are you, my lord? What is your command to me? Here, take this bag filled with gold coins. It's enough for you to live the rest of your life with dignity. Go and never stretch your hand before anyone again.
Bless you, my lord. My poverty ends today.
The beggar was overjoyed. He thought, I'll go to my village, build a fine house and live with respect. Happily walking home, the beggar met cruel bandit on the way.
Hey, stop you old man. Hand over whatever you have. Otherwise...
No, please don't do it. This is all I have. It's my only security.
Your life security? Then it's all mine now.
The bandit snatched the pouch, hit the old man and ran off. The beggar lay there weeping, empty-handed once again. The next day, he was back to begging.
What? You again? I gave you so much gold and you are begging again? What happened to that money?
My lord, a bandit robbed me. He took everything and beat me badly. It seems poverty is written in my fate.
Not this time. I'll challenge destiny itself. Here, take this. It's a diamond. Far more valuable than gold. Sell it and live like a king. Keep it safe.
A diamond? So precious. Where should I hide it?
The beggar went home and hid the diamond in an old unused pot that had been lying around for months.
No thief will ever look here. This is my treasure. Now I can sleep peacefully.
That night, while he slept, his wife returned from the river after fetching water. Her clay pot had cracked. She thought, why not use the old pot? Oh, my pot broke. Let me use that old one in the corner instead. She picked up the same old pot that hid the diamond. When she filled it in the river, the diamond slipped out and got carried away in the flowing water.
What? Why is this pot wet? Oh no, my diamond! Oh, fate! What have you done to me? It seems even a moment of joy isn't meant for me.
Next day, the beggar was again begging on the streets. Lord Krishna and Arjun saw him once more.
My lord, what kind of play is this? I gave him gold, then a priceless diamond, yet he is still a beggar. Will his sorrow never end? Parth, you can give wealth, but you cannot change destiny. Now watch what I do. Foolish man, you keep blaming fate, yet your greed and attachment keep you bound in sorrow. Take these, just 2 copper coins. Use them well. Just 2 coins? Madhav, what is this? My gold and diamond failed and you give only 2 coins? How is that fair? Be patient, Parth. The answer will appear soon.
The beggar walked away sadly. He thought, what can I do with 2 coins? They neither will fill my stomach nor change my fortune. Just then, he noticed a fisherman nearby. A fish had fallen from the net and was gasping for life on the ground.
Oh, that poor fish. My hunger won't vanish with 2 coins. But maybe I can save its life. Brother, please give me this fish. Take these 2 coins in return. Please accept my request.
Take it, old man. It's almost dead anyway.
The beggar gently lifted the fish in his pot and hurried to the riverbank.
Go, live your life. I have nothing, but your joy is enough for me.
As soon as he released the fish into the river, something shiny fell from its mouth.
I found it! I found it! Yes, I found it!
It was indeed the very diamond his wife had lost in the river. The fish had swallowed it. At that same moment, the bandit who had once robbed him happened to pass by.
What? Found it? Oh no! He has recognized me! He must be calling the guards! Forgive me, Lord. I'll return the gold coins I stole. Please don't take me to the king's court. I beg of you. Forgive me, please.
And so, in one moment, the beggar regained both the diamond and his gold.
Glory to you, Madhav.
What a miracle! My gold and diamond brought him nothing, but your 2 coins made him rich. Parth, when you gave him wealth, he thought only of himself. The thief stole, his wife lost it. But when I gave him 2 coins, he thought of another being's pain. He acted selflessly. Remember, Parth, when you think only of yourself, even destiny abandons you. But when you act for others, I, the Lord, begin to think of you. True wealth lies in selfless action. Everyone needs to learn this.
Arjun bowed his head in understanding. The story teaches us that the value of giving lies not in its amount but in the intent behind the act. Far from the wars of Kurukshetra and the politics of Hastinapur, a quiet village named Dharmapur lived at its own pace. Here, as part of his divine play, Lord Krishna wandered in disguise with his dear friend Arjun. Arjun's mind was still puzzled about karma and its result. He couldn't understand how could a person keep working and yet remain free from the bondage of his actions.
Madhav, you say one should act without expecting the result. But how is that possible? When anyone works, some hope of reward is natural. A warrior seeks victory. A trader expects profit. Without that hope, where does the motivation to act come from? I am still not able to understand this. The answer to your question, Parth, lies not in the scriptures, but in life itself. Come, I will show you a living example.
The first potter, named Anand, was poor. His hut was simple, his clothes torn. Yet, while shaping the clay on his wheel, his face glowed with peace and joy. He hummed softly as he worked, each movement rhythmic and graceful, as though his craft were a prayer. The second potter, Vishad, was comparatively wealthy. His house was sturdy and dozens of artistic pots stood outside for sale. His craftsmanship was finer than Anand's, but his brow was dyed with worry. He eyed every passerby anxiously and murmured complaints under his breath.
Keshav, look at this potter. Such skill, such perfect shapes. He must be a great craftsman. And that other one, he only makes simple pots. I feel pity for this talented man. Perhaps he doesn't get what his art deserves. That's why he looks so troubled. Am I right, Keshav? Parth, truth cannot be known by appearances. Come, let us meet Vishad first. Oh Potter, your hands hold magic. These pots are truly marvelous. Magic? What is the use of magic when the belly stays empty? I have been at this wheel since morning. No big buyer yet. Clay costs have risen and the king's guards demand tax for every sale. So much labor, yet I live with constant fear. What if no one buys by dusk? One small mistake in the kiln and all turn to dust. Life itself feels like a struggle.
Anand was lost in his work. When he saw the travelers, he stopped, smiled warmly, and felt happy.
Welcome, travelers. What service can I offer you? Can I serve you some water? We were watching your art. You work with such joy. How do you stay so cheerful? Joy. This joy comes from the clay itself, my friend. When I touch this soft earth, it feels as if I'm talking to Mother Earth. When the wheel spins, it seems the whole universe spins with it. And when a pot takes shape, I feel the Creator has given me a chance to create too. For me, this is not work. It's a celebration of life. But don't you worry about selling them? Don't profit and loss cross your mind? Of course, they do. One needs money to live. So I work with full dedication, trying to make the best pots I can. But the outcome isn't mine to control. My duty is to shape them. It's up to the Almighty to send buyers. If someone buys, I thank him. If not, I still thank him. My true reward comes while creating. My joy is complete in the act itself.
Arjun was stunned hearing Anand's words. Suddenly, loud commotion arises. A rich merchant's horse breaks loose and races wildly marketplace. People run for safety, and the horse running around results in pots crashing everywhere. In the blink of an eye, where Vishad's rows of beautiful pots stood, there remained nothing but shattered clay. Anand's pots too were broken.
Oh, I'm ruined. Months of work gone. Such loss. Oh Lord, why punish me alone? How will I pay the tax now? What I will do now? Why, God, why? Why you did this to me?
Anand, aren't you upset? You too lost your work. Why should I be upset, my friend? These were born from clay and have simply returned to it. Perhaps they were eager to rest in Mother Earth's lap again. I'm thankful none of the villagers were hurt. It's only clay. I'll put it back on the wheel tomorrow and give it new form. The joy of creation can never be taken from me. See, Parth, Vishad's skill brought him no peace because his happiness lived in the result, not in the act. The moment the result failed, he collapsed. Anand, on the other hand, had found his joy in the work itself. So even when his results were destroyed, his peace remained untouched. He was steady. Hope you understand this insight now, Parth. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan ma karma phal hetu bhurmate sangotsva karmani. O Arjuna, your right is only to perform your duty, never to the fruits of your actions. Do not think yourself the cause of those fruits, and never attach yourself to inaction.
From the lives of the two simple potters, Arjun learned the deepest truth of the Gita. He understood that true inspiration comes not from the desire for reward, but from dedication and love for one's work. When a person turns duty into celebration and lets go of anxiety over results, he remains calm and joyful in every situation. That is the mark of a true karma yogi. Arjun bows at Krishna's feet, his heart freed of all doubts.